Oops. All right. Pleasant evening to all of you. It's Wednesday evening. Shalom, Brother Mark. This is our Wednesday night prayer, Wednesday night Bible study. I want to give greetings to, I'm trying to fix this later, want to give greetings to the 12 tribes that are scattered into the four corners of the earth, according to the prophecy of the Bible. Also, the 144,000 who are among them, and of also the Gentiles who are our brothers and sisters in the Hebrew Messiah, Yahweh Shai, that are also with the scattered nations. Greetings. Greetings also to the chat, Brother Mark, and I don't know who else is here with you, but I see some people, but I don't see their names yet. Azarabanya, Azarab Israel, Sister Junior, Brother Larry Walker. Listen to your body, Sister Daniels and families. Greetings, Superstar, Shalom. Greetings to all of you. Today, we want to discuss from the Bible what Hurricane Ian told us in terms of Bible prophecy. Now, first, let's talk about Hurricane Ian. This hurricane it started in the Caribbean, started off the coast of Africa, came through the Caribbean. It actually hit the western portion of Cuba, and then it built up strength until it got to the western coastline of Florida. When it hit the western coastline of Florida, it was considered a Category 5 hurricane. The winds were in excess of 150 miles an hour as they were hitting Fort Myers, Florida, and touching also areas of Tampa and Naples, as well as coming through islands like Sanibel Island. It came and hit the coastline with a force that when you look at it after, it looks like a bomb actually hit that area. Flattened many houses. There are really, literally thousands of people that are homeless. There were over 2 million people without power for a time. This was just last week. They're still counting dead people. They haven't gotten an accurate number of how many people have died. They're still counting it. And a lot of people did not have flood insurance or hurricane insurance. And I found out since then that there's two separate things. I have hurricane insurance on my house. I do not have flood insurance. I didn't know that in Florida, these are two separate issues. So if your house is destroyed by a hurricane, you're covered by the insurance. If you just receive flooding, like there are places in the county that I'm in, Lake County, where it wasn't the hurricane, but there's a river in the northern part of our county that flooded already before the hurricane and continued to flood after the hurricane. That's flood. You need flood insurance for that. So a lot of people did not have the hurricane insurance. A lot of people did not have the flood insurance. And the reason being, for a lot of the people, some people was a matter of economics. But for others, it was because that area of Florida has not gotten hit with a hurricane like that in over 50 years. Okay, so the likelihood was very low. Most of the time, if you see Florida, it's almost like a giant peninsula from the continental U.S., from the rest of the land. And most of the hurricanes that hit Florida are coming from its east coast and going up the east coast. When they come into the Gulf of Mexico area, they're generally hitting the northern tip of Florida, the peninsula, so what they call the panhandle, and places like Alabama, Louisiana, where there's New Orleans, like Katrina, and Mississippi. They're usually hitting there, or they're going and hitting Texas, well, because it's in the Gulf of Mexico, and they're usually hitting Texas. But this one particularly came to the lower southwest portion of Florida. And this force, as I mentioned, was destructive, very destructive force. It came across Florida and then went up the east coast and hit Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Those damages, I haven't gotten any assessments or seen any, but I know that they did get damages. And I don't know what the death toll is there. But when we look at Bible prophecy, the Bible shows us that the Most High is going to bring judgments on the lands of the earth, the entire planet. Now, let's look at a couple of things. First of all, before we go into that, the brother Imana Prakash and I were discussing this during the course of the week. He had some questions about the rapture. And as it turns, this is related to what Christians call the rapture. Now, I don't like to use the word rapture or any term that is not found in the King James Bible. Why is that? Why don't I like to use terms that are not found in the King James Bible? Because first of all, I believe the King James Bible is inspired by Father Yah. I have been convicted of this from reading it cover to cover some 19 times, and on my 20th reading right now. From my reading of this book from Genesis to Revelation 19 separate times, I have become convinced that the book is inspired by a spirit that's eternal, that is higher than human beings. Even though human beings were instruments used by that spirit to write the words, I believe that the words of this book is breathed by the eternal spirit of the Father, and that it has been preserved as it now stands in this 66 division form for us in these last days. This is my belief. Now, I've had people contact me, and you always, this is the thing. You have to be careful, brethren. In fact, the first Psalms gives us some instruction in this area, what I'm about to mention. Psalms 1, the first division of Psalms, gives us some instruction. Let's take a look at it. Psalms 1. I know it by memory, but I want you all to look at it. It'd be a good thing to memorize, as most of Scripture is, as much as you can. But in Psalms 1, beginning at verse 1, it's only a 6-verse psalm. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of Yahweh, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of waters, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore, the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For Yahweh knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. There are people that I have found telling me, why are you teaching our people, quote unquote, that book when that book is by the white man, or that book is not inspired? And the sad truth is, when I inquire, when did you start at Genesis and finish in Revelation? They never have. And they will criticize you reading or teaching from a book that they've never read. Beware of such people. These are ungodly according to this book. Okay, so beware of such people that will come at you and criticize you for leaning on a book that they don't believe in and have never read. Which is why I say I have gotten my confidence in this book from prayerfully reading it 19 times. So my personal experience is the book is inspired by an eternal spirit. And so I will lean on it 100% because I have read it and I know what it contains. But you will get many people coming at you if you are in the same, the same thought process as me, where you're believing this book to be inspired for yourself. You will get attacked. You will get attacked and maligned. And it's going to get worse and worse. Now, speaking of Ian is going to have and is having the same effect that the plagues had on Pharaoh. What do I mean? There were Egyptians that saw what was going on in Mizraim, the land of Ham, which they call Egypt, and were looking for mercy from the God of Joseph. They were a minority. There were others, and mostly like Pharaoh, that made themselves even more stubborn to follow the gods of Mizraim, the sun, the moon, the stars, Ishtar, Isis, Horus, Cyrus, and all the other gods that they followed in Egypt. Well, Ian is going to have the same effect. What do I mean? There's going to be some that are hit by this and turn to the Creator in repentance. Those are the godly ones. Then there'll be some that will turn to the gods of the Eurocentric Babylonian system, like white Jesus. They will turn hard to that. And they will continue in hypocrisy. And they will get hardened in it. Now, speaking of rapture, I don't like to use the term rapture because when you start using terms that the Bible doesn't use, that this King James Bible does not use, it opens the door for your own interpretations and your own doctrine, since you just made up your own word. Does that make sense? So when you're starting to use terms that are not related in this book, it opens the door for you to create your own doctrine, such as the law of Moses is done away with, such as the new covenant has no law, such as Jesus Christ is white. It opens up the door, a Pandora's box, to untold lies. Because you just made up your own word, you can make up your own doctrine, you can make up your own religion. Now, this particular little talk today, this evening, is not directed at people that want to make their own religion. I'm not going to argue with people of Christianity or Islam or Buddhism or any of the various forms of the three so-called Abrahamic religions of Islam, Judaism, or Christianity. This is not directed at you in terms of trying to convince you. You see, just as I was convinced that this book is from the Creator Most High, given to us in its present form for the purpose of helping us get through what's coming, when it talks about what's coming, the message of truth is only for those that want truth, who the Father has predestined and knows who you are from before you were born. In fact, let's take a look at that. Ephesians chapter 1. Ephesians chapter 1. Ephesians chapter 1. Let's see here. I'm going to start in Ephesians chapter 1. I'm going to start at verse 1, and I'm going to go from verse 1 down to verse, oh man, Paul likes long sentences. I'm going to go from verse 1 down to verse 12. Okay? Ephesians chapter 1 from 1 to 12. And I want to focus on verse 5. So we're getting a context, but the focus is verse 5. Okay? Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ, or Yahushua the Messiah, by the will of Yah, to the saints which are at Ephesus, and to the faithful in Messiah Yahushua. Grace be unto you and peace from Yah our Father and from the Master, Yahushua Messiah. Blessed be Yah and the Father of the Master, Yahushua Messiah, who hath blessed us with all heavenly blessings in heavenly places in Messiah, according as he hath chosen us in him, that is in Messiah, chosen us in Messiah, before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Yahushua Messiah to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will, to the praise of the glory of his grace, wherein he hath made us accepted in the beloved, in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, according to the riches of his grace, wherein he hath abounded toward us in all wisdom and prudence, having made known unto us the mystery of his will, according to his good pleasure, which he hath purposed in himself, that in the dispensation of the fullness of times he might gather together in one all things in Messiah, both which are in heaven and which are on earth, even in him, in whom also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestinated according to the purpose of him who worketh all things after the counsel of his own will, that we should be to the praise of his glory, who first trusted in Messiah. So he keeps saying this term, in Messiah, and predestinated in Messiah, so that Messiah is the accepted being to the Father. He is accepted because he completely, 100% all the time obeyed the Father without ever deviating from obedience. Therefore, he's without sin. He also became a human being, born of a woman. Job asked a question, or maybe it was one of Job's friends, can anything be clean that is born of a woman? No. There was one, Mashiach Yahushua, of the tribe of Judah, of the 12 tribes of Israel. And because he is clean, because he was without sin, Father allows us to be represented by him, so that me, sinful me, can be looked upon as sinless because of Messiah. Now, with that privilege, that's called grace. With that grace that's given to me to be able to be looked upon as perfect in Messiah's perfection, I can choose to respond and be obedient to the Father. You see, this doesn't make me say the Father's law has been nailed to a cross. But what it does make me say is, Father, praise your name for receiving me, a sinner. And I want to do everything according to your will, just as Messiah does everything according to your will. Now, with respect to what the Bible calls the kingdom, see, Messiah did not go around saying, repent, for the rapture is at hand. Did he? But instead, what did he say? He said, repent ye, for the kingdom is at hand. Didn't he say that? So we are being called to a kingdom. Let's talk about that. Let's look at it. Okay. In fact, let's go to Brother Peter. Let's go to Brother Peter, or Kapha. Let's see. I am going to 2 Peter chapter 3, 2 Peter chapter 3, and this is where Christianity, and the reason I keep bringing up Christianity, because us as Hebrews, especially us that were brought from the coast of the land called Africa, have been greatly influenced by Christianity. Others of us have been greatly influenced by Islam. So that's why I mentioned both of them, because we, as the true Hebrews, and that's what we are, the true Hebrews, we are the ones that the world is waiting for to awaken to who we are, to give them a message of who we are and what's about to happen. Because Father has ordained us to share that message with them, that some of them might be saved. And some of us might be saved. 2 Peter chapter 3. 2 Peter chapter 3. I'm going to begin at, let's see. I'm going to begin at verse 10. I'm going to go from verse 10 down to verse 12. That's right. 2 Peter chapter 3 from 10 to 12. But the day of the master will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. So when he says thief in the night, many people have taken this to mean it's secret. Like comparing it to this scripture in Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. And it's interesting. What we just read in 2 Peter chapter 3, we did not read the beginning of that chapter, but if you did, Peter goes into the flood as an example. He goes into the flood as an example. And I want to show you what the Messiah said here. Matthew chapter 24, beginning at verse 36, going from verse 36 down to verse 42. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. So now they use this to say, first of all, we'll never find out what hour Messiah is coming. And second, it's going to be secret. Some people just disappear. And other people are going to just be left behind. In fact, they did a whole series called Left Behind, based on that. As they would, because they don't really read the Bible, just scriptures, and they read one verse or two verses and make a whole lot of stuff out of it. But we just read two scriptures. And Peter said the earth is going to melt with fervent heat. And the Messiah even said here that it was like the days of Noah, which means Noah, everything was happening as it normally happens until the flood came. So let me ask you, when the flood came and the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and there was hurricanes and tornadoes and great conflagration of water, do you think they knew something was happening? Do you think the people not in the ark and in the ark were aware that something was going on? Yes. Right before that, were they aware something was about to happen? Well, the people that got in the ark believed so, but the people that did not, didn't. So with the return of the Messiah, notice it said the coming of the Son of Man. That's what we're talking about. That's what he called it. So when he returns, everybody's going to see it. Matter of fact, notice what John has to say about it. Revelation chapter 1. Revelation 1, verse 7. Revelation chapter 1, verse 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. So everybody will see him. They don't know when he's coming, but when he comes, it's going to be loud. Peter said, great noise. Notice I've used three witnesses from the New Testament. There's Old Testament witnesses as well. We're going to talk about that. But Peter, John, and Messiah himself all say it's like it was before Noah, but when it came, it was too late. And it's going to be great noise, and kindreds of the earth, the kindreds means tribes, the families, they're all going to be wailing because of Messiah. They don't want to see him. Now, with respect to only nobody knowing the day or the hour, that's why the book of Revelation was given to us. You see, in Matthew, there's no book of Revelation. Then comes the book of Revelation. And notice what it says. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which Yah gave unto him. In other words, something about the Messiah that we didn't know is going to be revealed. Father gave this information to Messiah. And what did Messiah just say? Only the Father knows the return of the Messiah. So the book of Revelation reveals to us the return of the Messiah. It reveals not to everybody the revelation of Messiah Yahushua, which Yah gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. The servants are Israelites. The children of Israel are my servants. Wait a minute. Let me not just quote that one. Let me show you in a couple of places. First, we're going to go back to Revelation. But first, let's go to Leviticus. Let's go to Leviticus. Leviticus. Let's see, which one do I want? Leviticus chapter 25. This is the chapter of the Jubilee. If you want to know about the Jubilee, it's Leviticus 25. But let's look at this. Leviticus chapter 25, verse 55. Leviticus 25, 55. We might get cut off. Just letting y'all know. Don't be surprised if that happens. Pray. Maybe the Most High will block it. But Leviticus chapter 25, verse 55. Notice what it says. Well, there's a spiritual battle in Monapakash, and spirits fight to stop messages like this from coming out. That's why. But anyway, Leviticus 25, 55. For unto me the children of Israel are what? Unto me the children of Israel are what? They are servants. They are my servants, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh, your Most High. Unto me, he says, the children of Israel are servants. They are Yah's servants. Wait a minute. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, right? In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. Revelation chapter 7. Revelation chapter 7. We know this one. Revelation 7. In fact, let me start at verse. Let's start at verse 1. Revelation chapter 7, verse 1. From 1 to 4, you guys know it. After these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Most High. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Most High in their forehead. Who are these servants? And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. So we have 2 witnesses that said the children of Israel are Yah's servants. And he says the information regarding the return of the Messiah is not for everybody. It's for Yah's servants. Okay. So far, what do we have? A loud event where every eye sees it, but most see it too late. Okay. Now, there are 2 such events, actually, because there are 2 resurrections. The first resurrection is the resurrection of the righteous. The resurrection that Ezekiel talks about, and let's look at that in Ezekiel chapter 37. Ezekiel chapter 37. Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37. Y'all know, some of y'all love this one, right? And you like it too, right? Well, let's look at it. Ezekiel chapter 37. I'm going to begin at verse 1 and read down to verse 14. We're talking about the return of the Messiah and the kingdom. We're talking about Ian and what it means in terms of these things. So first, Ezekiel 37, beginning at verse 1 and going down from verse 1 to verse 14. The hand of Yahweh was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Most High Yahweh, thou knowest. Again, he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and I will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking. And the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Then he said unto me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves, and will bring you into the land of Israel. So this is obviously a resurrection. It's a resurrection of Israelites. It's a resurrection of the righteous. And what is going on? Where is he taking them? To where? The land of Israel. So the kingdom is founded and based in the land of Israel. Isn't that what it said? Or did I make that up? Isn't that what it said? Okay. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I, Yahweh, have spoken it and performed it, saith Yahweh. There you go. So his spirit comes and opens up the graves of his people. Now, of course, there are others that will be resurrected that didn't know anything of this, but the Most High will judge them faithful enough to come into the kingdom with the Israel nation. Okay? Now, what about this caught up thing? What about being caught up? Where are we caught up to? Let's take a look. Genesis chapter 5. Genesis chapter 5. Let's talk about Enoch. Genesis chapter 5. Genesis chapter 5. Here we go. Genesis 5. Let us look at Genesis chapter 5. I'm going to begin. Well, let me start with the father, Adam, right? The first earthly son of the father, Adam, right? He's the first Adam. There became a second Adam. That's Messiah. But the first Adam was Adam made from the dust, right? So let's look at Genesis chapter 5. I'm going to read from verse 1. And I'm going to read to verse 5. And then I'm going to skip down because I want to start with Adam, okay? Okay, Genesis 5, 1 to 5. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that Yahweh created man, in the likeness of Yahweh made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years, and begot a son in his own likeness after his image, and called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. Let's go down. Genesis chapter 5. Genesis chapter 5, we go to a man named Yared. Genesis chapter 5, verse 19. Yared. I'm going to read from verse 19 down to verse 24. And Yared lived after he begot Enoch 800 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Yared were 962 years, and he died. And Enoch was 65 years, and begot Methuselah. And Enoch walked with Yahweh after he begot Methuselah 300 years and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with Yahweh, and he was not, for Yahweh took him. Where did he go? Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11. See why you got to read the whole Bible? Hebrews chapter 11. See why you got to start at Genesis and go to Revelation? Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11, beginning at verse 5 and 6. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 5 and 6. What happened to Enoch? By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found because Yah had translated him. Before his translation, he had this testimony, that he pleased Yah. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yah must believe that he is, that he exists, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So Enoch was what they call translated. That is swept up. Swept up where? To what the Bible calls the third heaven. There's three heavens. There's the top of mountains in the sky. That's heaven, like top of Mount Sinai. There's the atmosphere above that, the firmament. That's heaven. That's the second one. And then there's one beyond that where Father lives. That's the third one. And it says Father took him. That's how we know he went to the third heaven. It says Yah, what did he do? He took him. There's another one of those. 2 Kings. Let's see here. 2 Kings chapter 2. 2 Kings chapter 2. 2 Kings chapter 2. 2 Kings chapter 2. I'm going to begin at verse 6. 2 Kings chapter 2, actually. Yeah, begin at verse 6. I'm going to read from verse 6, and I'm going to read down from verse 6 down to verse, let's see. I'm going to read from verse 6 down to verse 13. All right. And Elijah, or Aliyah, said unto him, tarry, I pray thee, here, for Yahweh has sent me to Jordan. And he said, as Yahweh liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And they two went on. And 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood to view afar off. And they too stood by Jordan. And Aliyah took his mantle and wrapped it together and smote the waters. And they were divided hither and thither, so that they too went over on dry ground. They walked over Jordan on dry ground. And it came to pass when they were gone over that Aliyah said unto Alashai, that's Elisha, Elijah is Aliyah, Alashai is Elisha, Alashai, ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. So he knew he was being taken away. All the prophets knew, because the Spirit talked to all of them. All his servants knew what was about to happen. All Yah's servants knew what was about to happen. Okay. Ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. And Alashai said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass as they still went on and talked that, behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it and cried, my father, the chariot of Israel and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more. And he took hold of his own clothes and rent them in two pieces. And he took up the mantle of Elijah that fell from him and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him and smote the waters and said, where is Yahweh, most high of Elijah? And when he had so also smitten the waters, they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over. So you see that there's a taken. Both Hanak and Alashai were taken to the third heaven, where Father is. And then there's also a resurrection. Where do we go? Well, let's look. Revelation chapter 4. See, I like this stuff. You know why? Because we get to use the whole Bible. You see, brethren, before, when I was a Christian, I was kind of locked into the New Testament. But now, by the Father's Spirit, I'm able to look in all the Bible and see it as 66 divisions of one book. Therefore, I am not locked into somebody's denomination, somebody's interpretation. And I admonish you, please, read this book for yourself. Start in Genesis. Pray to your Father in heaven. Start in Genesis and ask his Spirit to guide you, and you will learn. And when you finish reading it, don't stop. Keep reading. When you finish the second time, read a third time, and then a fourth, and a fifth, until the day will come when the people that are our enemies will take these books from us. Our enemies are going to take this book because we're too dangerous with this book. Anyway, Revelation chapter 4. Revelation chapter 4. Beginning at verse 1. Revelation chapter 4. I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse, let's see, from 1 to 5. From 1 to 5. Actually, 1 to 6. Revelation chapter 4, 1 to 6. After this, I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven. And the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne in sight like unto an emerald. And round about the throne were 24 seats. And upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment. And they had on their heads crowns of gold. And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of Yahweh. And before the throne there was a sea of glass, like unto crystal. And in the midst of the throne, round about the throne, there were 4 beasts full of eyes before and behind. There was what before the throne? A sea of glass. So you have the Father on his throne, and you have a sea of glass before him. He's in the heavens. Wait a minute. Revelation chapter 7. Revelation chapter 7. Revelation 7. Verse 9. Revelation 7, verse 9. Verse 9 to 12. Revelation chapter 7 from verse 9 to 12. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man can number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, and cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our Most High, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. And all the angels stood round about the throne and about the elders and the 4 beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces, worshiping Yahweh, saying, Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our Most High forever and ever. Amen. So everybody is standing before the throne on a sea of glass in the sky. Come up hither, Messiah said. Come up high, and I'm going to show you what's going to be hereafter. And he's showing him the sea of glass with the Father. And then all of the multitudes standing on the sea of glass with palms in their hands. So when we're taken up, either by resurrection or translation, we are taken where? To the sea of glass. But wait a minute. That's right. The feast of Ingathering. Thank you, Brother Mark. We're not finished yet. Revelation chapter 15. Revelation chapter 15. Now, Watch this very closely. Revelation chapter 15. Now, I want to just say before we read Revelation 15, Revelation 16 is the 7 last plagues. The 7 last plagues. Now, I want you to know something, and you could read this for yourself in the book of Exodus, start at chapter 1 and go through the chapter 16, and you'll see. But in the land of Egypt, there were 7 last plagues. There were 10 plagues altogether, but there were 7 last plagues. Question. Here's the question, quiz question for tonight. You can verify this yourself when you go ahead and read Exodus from at least from 1 to 14. But let me say this to you. Let me ask you this question. Are you ready? Did the 7 last plagues hit the Hebrews, or did they hit the Egyptians only? Who was affected by the 7 last plagues? Was it the Hebrews and the Egyptians, or just the Egyptians? That's right. The 7 last plagues did not touch the Hebrews. They were only for the Egyptians, which tell us also something else. Since there were 10, the first 3 hit everybody, right? It affected the Hebrews as well as the Egyptians. But the last 7 only hit the Egyptians. The first 3 served as a sort of a wake-up call, right? To the Hebrews. Wake up, because what Moses was saying, the God of your fathers, his name is I exist. Yahweh exists. He sent me to tell you, you're going to be made free. We're going to free you from the Egyptians. And it took them a while to receive that message. Once they received the message, the last 7 were only for the Egyptians. Okay? So the Hebrews were not affected. Now, with that in mind, let's look at Revelation chapter 15. I'm going to start at verse 1 and go down from verse 1 down to verse 4. It's only 8 verses, but it's important enough. I want to go by piece here. So Revelation chapter 15, 1 to 4. Okay? And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of Yahweh. Wait, 7 angels having what? The 7 last plagues. Before we continue, are these 7 last plagues for the Hebrews or not? Are the Hebrews getting hit with these 7 last plagues? No, they're not. Okay. So now we have an understanding that there's going to be 7 last plagues that are going to hit the earth, right? And these 7 last are not affecting the Hebrews. Everybody got that? So some of us will be resurrected from the dead. Some of us are going to be translated to the sea of glass. But all of us are not going to be hit with the 7 last plagues. We will not be on the earth. Where will we be? Standing on what? The sea of glass. Does that make sense? Now, that's what the Christians call rapture. But I think if you ask the Christian about it, they're not going to give you what we just read here. They're going to tell you only Christians that believe in Jesus Christ are going to just disappear. And nobody's going to know what happened to them. Everybody else is left behind. Is that what we just read? Brother Iman, are you catching this? All right now, wait a minute. Let's continue. Revelation chapter 15, 1 through 4. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of Yahweh. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass. The second time we're seeing this sea of glass. Oh, the third time. Chapter 4, chapter 7, and chapter 15. Let's continue. And it's in other places too, you know. Read Daniel chapter 7. You'll see it there. But anyway, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast and over his image and over his mark and over the number of his name stand on the sea of glass having the harps of Yahweh. Now, first of all, I need you to understand, mark of the beast, image of the beast, number of his name, All of that is happening now. This is our first resurrection. There's two resurrections. The first one is what Ezekiel described of the righteous. And that resurrection includes all of these things. All of us are going to be tested by the mark of the beast, the image of the beast, and the number of his name. Don't worry about having to interpret it, brother. It's coming right at you. That's right. It's going to be love. Now we're going to be celebrating that we got this victory. And be celebrating on the sea of glass in front of the Father. While we're celebrating, 7 angels will have 7 last plagues as presents for the enemy. Okay. Revelation chapter 15, verse 3. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of Yah, and the song of the Lamb, Moses and the Messiah, saying, great and marvelous are thy works, Yahweh Al Shaddai. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Who shall not fear thee, O Yahweh, and glorify thy name? For thou only art holy, for all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. So now we're standing on the sea of glass. And there are going to be people that are singing with harps. That's what it said. Harps. Who has the harps? Revelation chapter 14, Revelation chapter 14, Revelation 14, 1, 2, and 3. Revelation chapter 14, we'll come back to 15 in a second. I want to just focus on the harps for a second. Revelation 14, 1, 2, and 3. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him, there on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps, and they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne, or before the 4 beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. Now, let's go back now. Wait a second. When we were in Revelation chapter 7, we saw a whole bunch of people with palm branches in their hand. Here in Revelation 15, there are some people that don't have palm branches in their hand. Instead, they have harps. This is the 144,000. So you have a great group of people. And within the midst of that people, there's the 144,000 with the harps, and they're singing a song. Now, brethren, when you read Exodus chapter 15, when you get a chance, read Exodus chapter 15, because a song is generally sung to illustrate an experience of the singer. So we're singing a song because, brethren, we're being prepared. Don't worry. We are all being prepared for a very scary time. This is what Ian is about. We're being prepared for a very scary time so that we can stand before the Most High. His Spirit does the preparing and his word. All we do is trust in him because he has called us to trust in him before the earth was created or before we were ever thought about by anyone else on the planet. He called us and he prepared us to stand for that time. And we're going to have an experience that no other human beings except Moses and Messiah had. That's why it's called the Song of Moses and the Lamb. Okay? And we'll be able to sing that song. It's our experience. Okay? Okay. Revelation chapter 15 again, from verse 5 to 8. And after that, I looked, and behold, a temple, the temple, see, the is not in capitalized letters. It should be, though. But notice, Revelation chapter 15, verse 5. And after that, I looked, and behold, the temple of the tabernacle of the testimony in heaven was opened. What is that? The temple is the place where Yah dwells, right? That's where he sits. That's where he generally is sitting. Now, the temple, now his throne moves. It's on wheels. Remember the wheel in the wheel that Ezekiel saw? And Isaiah saw too in Isaiah chapter 6 and Ezekiel chapter 1. So the throne moves. In fact, it moves from the temple to other spots. That's why we stand before the sea of glass, right? But aside from that, that's where Father Yah generally sits, the temple. And it says that it's a tabernacle. It's a home. A tabernacle is a home. The temple of the tabernacle of what? Of the testimony. What is the testimony? It is none other than what is commonly referred to as the 10 Commandments. The temple in heaven has a home for the 10 Commandments called the heavenly sanctuary, the most holy of holies. He said that place was opened. Verse 6. And 7 angels came out of the temple, having 7 plagues, clothed with pure and white linen, having their breasts girded with golden girdles. And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden vials full of the wrath of Yahweh, who liveth forever and ever. And the temple was filled with the smoke from the glory of Yahweh and from his power. And no man was able to enter into the temple till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were fulfilled. So what do we have? We are being taken, translated, or resurrected to the sea of glass. As Revelation chapter 7 shows us, actually it's chapter 8, verse 1, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. We're there celebrating the Feast of the Tabernacles. Then we're taking to the land, and the city rests there, and the Father and the Messiah and all of us rest there. Then Ezekiel 39 and 38 come to pass. Read that. And Revelation 19 and 20 come to pass. Read that. I'm going to let y'all read that. So there's no secret rapture. There's translation and resurrection. There's great noise. There's celebration in the sky with Father Yah, which no man can see except us when we go there. Okay? And then there's 7 last plagues hitting the earth. Now, the last plague that hits the earth is the return of us with Father and Messiah from the sky. That's the last plague. Notice, Revelation chapter 16. Revelation 16. This is the last one, the 7th one, Revelation chapter 16, beginning at verse 17. I'm going to start at verse 16. Revelation 16:16. This is the last of the 7 plagues, beginning at verse 16 and going down to verse 21. The last of the 7, right? Here we go. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue, Armageddon. And the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air. And there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, "It is done." And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings. And there was a great earthquake, such as was not since the men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. Zechariah 14 also mentions this earthquake. And a great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before Yah to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed Yahweh, because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. Now, that is the last plague. And we are returning with that. And they are being hit, and the earth is being destroyed. And it starts with things like Ian. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 24. Isaiah chapter 24. Isaiah 24. Isaiah chapter 24, beginning at verse 1. Isaiah 24, beginning at verse 1. We need to read this one. We need to read this whole one. So I'm going to start at verse 1 and read down to verse 10 to start us off. And then we're going to continue. Okay? Isaiah 24 will be preserved by things like Ian. So what does Ian represent? A wake-up call. It's a warning for Yah's people to wake up. What's going to happen, though, you're going to get the heathen get solid in their stuff. But those of us that are being called, predestinated, are come to the Father. It's part of the final call. It's a wake-up call, a sign, right? For us who are seeking truth to come to the Father before it's too late. Okay? There are those of us that were like me, caught up in money and power and wanting to be a billionaire, right? Something like Ian would end all that. If you're being called, right? Your house, everything wiped out. Your life spared. So that you can come to the truth. Right? Then there are those that are the poor and the struggling massive class that were also hit by this hurricane. And they'll also wake up. Okay? Wake up call. There's a religious revival happening, and it's already started. It's the awakening among the Hebrews, and it's a false revival among the Abrahamic religions, the 3 Abrahamic religions. You're going to get a revival on both sides. Okay? The 3 unclean spirits that we read about in Revelation 16, we didn't read them tonight, but they're there in the 6th plague. They're working, the Bible says they're working miracles. You're going to have a religious revival among Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And you're going to have an awakening, which has already started, among the true Hebrews. It's already started. Okay? And it's going to get more intense in these next few years and months and years. Okay. Isaiah chapter 24, beginning at verse 1, going down to verse 10. Behold, Yahweh maketh the earth empty. He maketh it waste. He turneth it upside down and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest. As with the servant, so with his master. As with the maid, so with her mistress. As with the buyer, so with the seller. As with the lender, so with the borrower. As with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for Yahweh has spoken this word. He has spoken this word, so it's coming to pass. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. Why? Because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. They shall not drink wine with song, strong drink shall be bitter to them, and they that drink it. The city of confusion is broken down. Talk to me one more time, brethren. City of confusion. What's that? What's another word that the Bible uses for confusion? Talk to me, brethren. What's another word for confusion? Brother Mark, I should stop you from answering. You getting everything. That's right. It's Babylon. That's right. It's Babylon. Praise the Most High Yah. So the city of confusion, or Babylon, right, is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. There you go. There you go. What does Revelation talk about? Babylon being destroyed. It's what does it say? Babylon. What does it say? It's fallen is fallen. Wait a minute. From verse 11 down to verse 22, especially verse 22. From verse 11 down to verse 22, and the city is left desolate. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone, and the city is left desolation. The gate is smitten with destruction. When thus it shall be in the midst of the land among the people, there shall be as the shaking of an olive tree, as the gleaning grapes when the vintage is done. They shall lift up their voice. They shall sing for the majesty of Yahweh. They shall cry aloud from the sea. Wherefore glorify ye Yahweh in the fires, even the name of Yahweh most high of Israel in the isles of the sea. For uttermost parts of the earth have we heard songs, even the glory of the righteous. But I said, my leanness, woe unto me. The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously. Yea, the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitant of the earth. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit. And he that cometh out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. Isn't that what Ian did to that small section of the earth called southwestern Florida? Yes, it did. And shall be moved like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. And they shall, watch this, verse 22, watch this, verse 22, watch this now. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, that's the grave, and they shall be shut up in the prison. And after many days, they shall be visited. That's the 1,000 years, right? That's the 1,000 years. And then the moon shall be confounded, and the earth and the sun ashamed, when Yahweh of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and Jerusalem before his ancients gloriously. Praise the Most High. See, it says, after many days, they shall be visited. That's the first resurrection in the 1,000-year period. And the pit is the grave. Remember, our Satan is placed what? Into a bottomless pit. See? Praise the Most High. So y'all got it now? There's no secret rapture. There's a translation to the sea of glass. There's a resurrection to the sea of glass. And then there's a celebration of the Feast of Ingathering with the Hebrews and the Gentiles that are grafted in and all the nations that didn't know. There's a celebration. And then, on the 8th day, we come down and there's an earthquake hitting the earth. And there's hail hitting the earth. And we're going to the land. Read Zechariah. We're going to the land. You're going to see the same thing, the earthquake there. Same thing as John saw. Same thing as Isaiah saw. Same thing that Jeremiah saw. And so, y'all got it? There's no rapture. Forget the rapture. There's no rapture. There's the kingdom. And the kingdom belongs. Wait a minute. Ezekiel, let's finish with this. Ezekiel chapter 48. Ezekiel chapter 48. Let's finish with this. Ezekiel chapter 48. Let's see here. I'm going to start at verse 30 and go down to verse 35. Ezekiel chapter 48 from verse 30 to 35. And these are the goings out of the city on the north side, 4,500 measures. And the gates of the city, shall be after the names of the tribes of Israel. 3 gates northward, 1 gate of Reuben, 1 gate Judah, 1 gate Levi. And at the east side, 4,500 and 3 gates, and 1 gate Joseph, and 1 gate Benjamin, and 1 gate Dan. And at the south side, 4,500 measures, and 3 gates, 1 gate Simeon, 1 gate Issachar, 1 gate Zebulun. And in the west side, 4,500 with 3 gates, 1 gate Gad, 1 gate Asher, 1 gate Naphtali. And it was round about 18,000 measures. And the name of the city from that day shall be Yahweh is there. Woo, man. Yahweh is there. That's the name of the city. Yahweh is there. That's the name of the city. And there's another place that says, and the kingdom shall be Yahweh's. There you go. There you go. And you know that same thing is in Revelation chapter 21. You know it's there, right? So we don't have to go there. You know it's there. Y'all see what's going on now? Y'all see why there's an Ian? Why there's fires in the west? Why there's typhoons and hurricanes and tornadoes? Y'all see why these things are coming to pass? It's happening very quickly. Now, brothers and sisters, you and I got to go through our trial. There's no doubt. We got to go through our trial. Don't think we're just going to skip into heaven just because we're not going through the 7 last plagues. We got to be tried. Why? Because we're not ready. We're not ready. The Most High makes us ready. You can't make yourself ready. All you can do is surrender to your Father. Surrender to your Father. Read his words. Trust him. Trust his words. That's all you can do. People are going to ridicule you. They're going to come at you. Why are you reading that white man's book? That ain't the white man's book. That book was changed. They're missing books. Look for the lost books. Read these 66. Read them. Read the 66. Start at Genesis. Go to Revelation. When you finish doing that, do it again. Because everybody that criticizes this book never read it. Never read it. Or they might have skimmed it once. If they did that. The only real heathen that I really ever encountered, I never encountered even, but I've read about and seen that actually have read this book. And he read the whole Quran too. But he said he read the King James Bible multiple times. You know who that was? It was a young man. Well, he died of cancer. His original name, his government name was Stokely Carmichael. He died, and another name, he changed his name to Kwame Ture. He actually read this book multiple times. And he knew we were the true Hebrews. Kwame Ture. I haven't heard anybody else on any national stage that have actually read this book. Probably Malcolm X did it, but he never said he did it. Okay. But Kwame Ture said he read it. Very few people. See, brethren, Kwame Ture, you never heard of Stokely Carmichael? Oh my goodness, brother Imana, go to YouTube and look up Stokely Carmichael and look up Kwame Ture. Oh my goodness, man. Oh man, that's a brother you need to look at. Now, he did not practice everything in this book. He read the Quran, he read the Bible, he read every religion's book he read it. But he said of the Bible that he read it multiple times. He read it multiple times. Okay. Oh, Kwame Ture. Oh, yeah. He died of cancer. And he said before he died that he feels like the cancer was injected into him, that somebody put it in him. The same thing with Bob Marley. The guy that actually injected him confessed before he died that he injected Bob Marley with the cancer, that he would catch brain cancer and die. Okay. Yeah. Kwame, somebody help my brother. Stokely. Listen, if you do a Google search, Amana, start with say Stokely, your Carmichael's going to come up. Carmichael's going to come up. Or if you say Kwame, Kwame, and start with Ture, say T-O-O, it's going to come up. Yeah. Kwame Ture was bad man. He was a bad man. You know, y'all see my, the figure on my email and my YouTube channel is brother, Muhammad. Okay, these are some bad brothers, man. These are some bad brothers. Yeah. Khalid Muhammad, some bad brothers. They didn't believe like us. To me, they were ignorant. Like they didn't know what I and you know right now. That's what I'm saying. They didn't know what we know right now. Because they came before us and they died before they could get into the promised land. They were dying in the wilderness. But brothers and sisters, some brothers that came. We not the first one. Okay. Some brothers came before us. Kwame Ture was one of them, and he actually read the Bible. That's right. We are awakening. Kwame Ture and brother, what's the young brother that got murdered? Fred Hampton, Kwame Ture, Malcolm X. Yeah. Dr. Khalid Muhammad. There were some powerful brothers before us, right? They didn't catch the finish line like we catching it. Read this book, you'll catch, the Bible says, Psalm 119, I think it's Psalm 119. I want to say it's 105, and Psalm 119 says, I know more than the ancients because I have kept thy word. That's what it says. Let me read it. Let me get exactly what it says here. Let me get exactly what it says. It said, look. Yeah. It said, this is Psalm 119, 99 and 100. I have more understanding than all my teachers, for thy testimonies are my meditation. I understand more than the ancients because I keep thy precepts. Now, Kwame Ture, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, these guys read a lot. They read a lot of books. But you see, by the Spirit of the Father, just reading this one, you'll get everything they got and a whole lot of more. A whole lot of more. Whole lot of more. Okay. You'll get everything they got and a whole lot of more. Okay. Just by reading this book. because the eternal wisdom of the Father will guide your steps. May he continue to bless you and guide your steps. I pray that the Father bless you and keep you, that he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you, and that he, Father Yah, lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Sure.